Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Friday afternoon from sunny San Diego. I'm the host of The Art of Inspired Selling. My name is Catherine Nunez. The Art of Inspired Selling is a live stream show where I bring on guests that have been entrepreneurs for some time, and they're not just surviving in the new normal, but they're actually thriving. Each of the guests that I choose brings something to my audience that has to do with a problem that one of my clients has come across, a problem that my agency doesn't solve, or something that I feel is really important and impactful in the B2B service-based entrepreneurs that I serve. And today's guest, Maria, is I don't want to say a transitional coach. I'm like totally off all of a sudden because I'm going to rename you. She's a career and life coach. And one of the reasons I chose her is because if you guys have seen any of the marketing of this show for today, I exited corporate America and I was in a really toxic environment and I was really stuck in a rut and I didn't have the courage to step out from that position. And if I would have known someone like Maria before, it would have helped so much for me to find my stride much earlier, and things would have happened a lot faster. So I want to bring her today to the audience, just in case there's somebody out there that is stuck in some type of a career rut. They could be stuck in some other kind of rut. And Maria is going to give you some information and help you just answer some questions that might make that unstuckness not happen. So I'm going to read her bio so that you guys know all about her. So first of all, my guest is Maria Thomas Keegan, and she's a fellow Phoenician. So as a career and life coach, Maria specializes in helping women turn transition into triumphs. She has 30 years of corporate management experience and training, along with navigating many life-changing events like loss, divorce, and career upheavals. Maria coaches and mentors women who struggle to find meaning and purpose in their careers and life. Bringing a calm force into what can feel like chaos, she helps women create the foundation for leaping into their next chapter with confidence. Well, Maria is also an award-winning author, speaker, and hosts the #1 most watched podcast on the Voice America TV called Tips for the Transition. What are you going to walk away with from this show today? Well, for sure, you're going to be able to get some information to help you gain courage, clarity, and confidence. So I'll move this out of the way and I'm going to bring my guest on. Maria, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Thank you so much for joining
me.
Yes. Let's see. Do we want to be big today? No. I have to hide over here. So let's go back down. All right. So where are you coming live from? I just said you're in Phoenix. Which part of Phoenix are you in?
So I'm in the West Valley.
Okay. Wonderful.
I'm in Goodyear. Yeah.
Wonderful. And we were just talking about the beautiful weather that she's experiencing over there. How do you manage the heat of Arizona?
Oh, well, we stay inside a lot in the summer in the air conditioning when it is now 107 degrees outside. It is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And yesterday we hit a 112. So yeah, we stay inside.
Oh, goodness. I remember the days. I was there for so many years. Well, you guys, as you join us on the show, pop into the chat, tell us hi, tell you where you're coming from. I'd love to answer any questions for you. I want to celebrate you for joining us today. And then make sure to put your questions in the chat because we will answer them as they come up. So Maria, as you might know, to be a guest on the show, I ask this question, which is how long have you been an entrepreneur now? Let's look.
I didn't think I said it. I left corporate about 8 years ago.
Okay. So for 8 years, you've been on your own, helping women transition and make an impact in the lives of others. And so what is it that you find that keeps you lit up, that helps you stay motivated, that helps you inspire others? And what keeps you inspired to keep selling your services over and over again?
My clients inspire me for sure. Being able to help others get through what I've been through with a bit more ease and grace than I went through it, that lights me up. I love to be able to um, inspire others to seek options. There are always different solutions out there, and we can get so stuck sometimes.
Yes.
Another thing that inspires me is reading what others have been through and how they got through it, and learning from
Mm-hmm.
other people's stories.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've been doing that. One of my really good friends, shout out to Cynthia Barnes. I don't know if she's watching this. She just launched a podcast called Unstoppable, and I just listened to one of her episodes yesterday. And I don't know, you guys, but sometimes the right message shows up at the right time, right? Do you ever listen to something and you're like, how did somebody know I needed to hear that today,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. What do they say?
Absolutely.
When the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so there was an episode there, but so tell me a little bit about your show, your podcast. Tell us what's the premise of it? What kind of stories do you share on it?
So it's tips for the transition. We are about to go into our 5th season
Wow,
of Tips for the
congratulations.
Transition, and I'm so blessed and honored that we have been part of the Voice America TV network now for a little over a year, about 15 months. And what we do on that show is share both stories of transition. So we hear from other women what they've been through, what
Mm-hmm.
was the emotional journey they went on, and then what did they learn from it. The other format is I have expert conversations, much like you're doing here, with other experts on different aspects of transition. And my 5th season, we're going to change things up a bit. And because of being guided because of the pandemic, this is a
Mm-hmm.
bit of a silver lining. There's so many people who have been affected. Their careers have been affected. How they think and feel about their careers has changed, and a lot of people just don't know who they are now and what they want next.
Yes.
So my next season will be focused on aspects of career transition.
And do you see for your avatar a certain age? Does this happen for people at a certain age more than others, or is it all over?
Yeah, I think we have to. My clients are typically in their 40s and up. And I think I think what we need is a little bit of having a few trips around the sun under our belts, so that we are maybe have this sense of dissatisfaction. We've been doing what we do for as long as we've been doing it, and we may be thinking, so is this all there is?
Yeah. Is this
And
more? Is
what
there more?
else? Yeah,
Yeah.
is there more? And how do I figure that out?
Mm-hmm.
How do I discover what's right for me?
I think I know a lot of my friends tend to ask those questions as well, unless they're teaching. I think my friends that are teachers or principals are still so passionate about that service industry, right? About
Yeah.
where they're at. But other people, especially maybe when their kids get a little bit older, or maybe they go through an acquisition, the companies that they're working through through an acquisition, they have a time to exit, now we have this great resignation happening. People didn't have a choice to resign, or they said, well, I wanted to resign as well, right? So you are in such the right space right now to help so many people. I'm just very thankful that you're doing what you're doing, so that people have a guide out there or a beacon to help them through it. It's super important. So today we're going to talk about 6 questions, right? Or there's a few. I have 5 written here. And the first one is, what might you be thinking and feeling that leads to a desire to change your job or career? So I'm going to pop that into the chat here. And if you guys resonate with this question, tell us what you might be thinking or feeling that's making you want to change your job, career, or can we even say maybe some people have been an entrepreneur and they want to pivot a little bit, or they've had no choice but to pivot, right?
So, or they could be in corporate and they are thinking about, what is this thing called entrepreneurship? Yeah, there's so many things that they could be thinking. And I remember this so well in my own career. We touched on this a moment ago, but there's got to be more than this, right? What else? What am I missing? And then, they might be feeling about their job like it's sucking the soul out of them.
For sure.
And, Sunday comes around and there's that dread for Mondays, or every day of the week even, right? If you've been working in your job for a period of time, but you've reached a point at which you've gone as far as you can go. And so now you are kind of treading water. You are going through the motions. You could do it with your eyes closed. You're bored. So all of those things can come into play as you think about, okay, so what do I do about that? What does it look like? What could I do? You might be in a situation where you talked about being in a toxic culture. Mm-hmm. So if the culture is so negative, it might be rubbing off on you and you don't like who you're turning into.
Right.
You don't like going into that and responding or reacting in the way you are because you feel like that's what's expected or that's what's required. The other thing is that, pandemic related, you've been working from home for a while now. Things have shifted for you. At first, it might have been difficult to adjust, but now you have. And they're starting to think about calling you back to the office and you don't want to go.
You could not want to get stuck on the freeway.
That's right. Especially with a plane that uses the freeway as a runway like you did earlier this week. Yeah. So there are so many things that could come into play here. Different scenarios that could cause women to think differently about what they do for a living. And those thoughts and feelings can have a ripple effect throughout the rest of their lives.
And, for me, I've always been a single mom and I missed so much from my children. I remember, you know where Sky Harbor is, right? And my kids were either in the Tempe school district or in the daycare. Yeah. And so my life was, how early can I drop my young son off at school to be on the school grounds with no supervision so I can get through that traffic to get to the airport, to get my flight and not have a hiccup so that I can make my sales calls and then make it home just in time for that same horrible traffic that happens from the airport back to Tempe and sprint in to get the kid at 6 p.m. or I had the late fees. They'd be sitting there waiting. My kid was always the last one sitting there, right? Or having friends, can you pick him up? Or, my son's going to ride his bike to school all by himself. I'm leaving before he wakes up. He's getting himself all ready for school all by himself. And I'm going to trust that he could make it. And my kids are very independent because of that, right? Yeah. But it was so stressful and so much. Yeah.
There's so much. There's guilt associated with that. There's so many emotions that, thinking, I'm sure that you were thinking, I'm not a very good mom because this is what I have to do. It's kind of what I'm forced to do as a single mom.
Well, I had to do a mindset shift where it was, I have no choice but to do this, so they better buck up. I didn't let guilt come in, but it was guilt. I was guilty when I couldn't go to parent-teacher conferences, or I couldn't help in the classroom. I mean, it just wasn't things I was interested in either.
Yeah.
But I couldn't help with any of those things. And when I really took time to look at myself and what I value, family is first on my list. Absolutely first on my list. And I was not living my authentic self because my family, in my achiever status that I have, my strength, was taking a way back seat, right? It was my achiever status, what my corporation expected from me. And my family was like a third, right? They weren't even second. And so I'm sure you work with people on that, right? Is understanding their values.
Absolutely.
If you're saying one thing and living another, then you're not in line with your authentic self.
That's right. That's right. And I believe, I'm so glad you touched on that, because and I have to ask you a question. So you had your corporate responsibilities, and then your kids were third. Where were you?
Oh, nowhere.
No, probably
Which is why I stayed in that position for so long, because I like self wasn't even an option.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that that's really the way it needs to be. I believe that we can figure things out and live true to our authentic self, as you say, and aligned with our values, what we care about most in our lives. And when we do that, when we and this, we're getting into the part of this process of getting to know who we are at the core. And we change, we evolve as our circumstances evolve. And as things happen in our lives, like a pandemic, that make us reevaluate what's really important to us and realize, hopefully, that we have choices. There are different options that we can explore. And when we understand what our choices are, then we can evaluate them and decide, make a conscious decision to live based on what's important to us, what we value most, and our vision for what it is we want.
Yes.
So you asked the question, what could people be thinking and feeling? There's so much that goes into that, right?
Yes, for sure. Well, let me put this second question in. What keeps you stuck and stops you from making a move?
Well, there are a lot of things there too, right? So we when something happens, often something happens that we don't expect in our career or our life. Very often, our confidence takes a hit, and all of a sudden, we're not as strong as we usually are, and we're wondering why. I feel like I got hit in the stomach, and the wind got knocked out of me, and I don't feel so steady right now. I don't trust my ability to make a good decision right now. There might be fear, in choosing to make a move. There's fear associated with that. You have fear of losing what you know because you've been doing it for so long. You can do it with your eyes closed.
Right.
And what if I'm not good enough? Or there's fear of the unknown.
Yes.
Right? What am I going to go to? I know what I've got. I better stick with that.
It sounds like you're describing a really bad relationship as well, right? A romantic relationship, like why women stay in bad relationships, right? I know that my bad baggage here, what's out there. It's the same thing that can be applied. I was just talking to a friend about that the other day, that women sometimes don't have that courage because they're so close to a situation.
Yeah.
they cannot see what do they say? They can't see the forest through the trees. But when you build a very great community and you can be transparent with your community and your friends or a coach, right? And you can ask and talk about those things, they can help you see through them, and they can give you structure or formulas or frameworks to help work through them and be a better problem solver and realign with your core values, right? And what
Right.
and
Right.
see them. And I would say that happened a lot for me as well. What keeps you stuck and keep you from moving? I kind of quit. I gave up because I'd bring new ideas, or I'd have this great idea, or I'd propose something and it just like a baseball bat would get knocked out from underneath me, and I'd be slammed in front of everybody, and you just kind of quit bringing ideas and you just kind of quit trying. And so you think, well, if they don't like my ideas and they knock everything out, why is somebody else going to value them?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And that we get stuck in old beliefs too,
Old
right?
stories.
It's
Yes.
old stories, old conditioning, old things that we've been living with forever, and we often don't stop to realize that we have the power to question what we were brought up to believe, or what we've been conditioned to believe because of circumstances in our lives,
Mhm.
with relationships, or with relationships with our career, even the company we work for. So some of those beliefs can, that I'm not smart enough to go get something else. I don't have enough alphabet soup at the end of my name, enough letters at the end of my name to measure up. Um, and those beliefs can probably, along with our self talk, those two things are probably the things that most often my clients struggle with, and keep them stuck where they are until they realize that they have a choice to examine them, to evaluate them, and to decide, do they serve me now? And if not, set them aside, let them go, and figure out what serves better.
Yes, yes. And one thing I have reframed for myself is that it's my situation was not the corporation's fault, right? It was how they were. It was my choice. I chose to stay there year after year after year. It's not any bad reflection on them. I had free, you're not like in this, it's not like a marriage, right? You can leave. You
Yeah,
can leave, but we
yeah,
choose to stay. So no, nothing against my past employer. Their culture it suits them. It suits the other people that are super happy there. It was me, right? That was the wrong person in that position, that was unhappy, that was no longer serving me. So I taking that blame from them and putting it on myself was a little bit of a hard lump to swallow as well. Like,
sure, sure.
it's not their fault you stayed.
Right,
You chose to stay there.
right.
Yeah, for sure.
And there are lots of things that tie us, right? That keep us. We think we don't have, the salary is too good. The benefits are too good. I have a great title. I have a great staff. I have assembled this staff and they depend on me, but I'm not happy.
Yeah. What about ageism? I mean,
What
is
about
that
what?
is that ageism? Is that something we're not really that's not really a subject. So, what keeps you stuck and stops you from making a move? So, ageism is real.
Yeah,
It's real. It's forward. So, do you hear that very often? Like, I'm over 50 now, and somebody younger
yeah.
can come in and well. I don't know who would say they would do a much better job because they don't have your experience
They
and
don't
all
have
those
the
years of
wisdom, right,
knowledge. But
right, right. And I think a lot of corporations have been accused of. I was in a situation like that myself,
mhm.
where a lot of the employees have banded together because there is evidence of ageism in terms of the number of people who have been released from the company. of a certain age, right? But so it absolutely is real. I was speaking to a woman just yesterday, and she said multiple times during our conversation, well, I am 50. And I I was laid off and I was 61. You can still make a life after that.
Yes.
You're not ever too old. What it looks like is yours to decide.
Mm-hmm.
And how you position yourself is important. So it's just a number as far as I'm concerned. And there is nowhere on a resume or on a LinkedIn profile that it requires us to put our age or even the year of our graduation from college, right?
Yes, correct.
So it's positioning, I believe.
Yeah, and I have some tricks that I've been teaching to coach into that, to put it, the first 20 years, maybe put them in a talk professional experience, right? And just talk about that without the years included. So there's ways you can do it. You're not hiding it. You could have some 30 something looking for people, and I don't even know, since I'm looking for a job. I don't know what it's like to be over 50 and look for a job. I really don't know what that's like. So stay tuned in case it happens. We'll put my journey live on LinkedIn, and we'll just see how it goes. We'll analyze it. All right. What's the first step to moving forward?
So a lot of people think, and a lot of career coaches actually advise that first thing you do is you dust off your resume and you update it, and you update your profiles, and you start looking for positions that you want to pursue. I believe that the first thing you need to do is figure out who you are now. And the second thing is what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing is, how do you want to go about getting it? So this requires some inner work, and it requires the desire to want to know the answer to those questions.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe if you don't take the time to do that inner discovery, that self-discovery, to answer those questions, who am I now?
Mm-hmm.
What do I want? What does that look like? And how do I want to go about making it happen? If you don't take the time doing that, then when you get to the point where you position yourself to go into the marketplace and seek the kind of work you truly want to do, what you'll end up doing is getting what you've already done
In a different flavor.
right? Because
Yes.
your resume is talking about everything you've already done instead of positioning you for what you want to do next.
Yes.
And unless we tell people who we are and what it is we want, they're not mind readers. They're going to read all of the professional experience, and they're going to say, she is good at this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
That fits this job. And I'm going to call her in, and she's going to find out that she could do that with her eyes closed. And she's leaving a position now that she's bored from because that's what she's doing.
Yes. So I was going to back up for a minute. When you were talking about doing that inner work, it also, I think, would be good for when you find a speed bump, right? When you find something that you were stuck in that might be a trigger in the new job, you take the time to heal from it, or to work through it, or to understand why it happens, right? Maybe if somebody was fired from a job and they, for them, it was a little bit traumatic.
Yep.
They need to take the time to heal, but financially, I don't know if they can, but you can do some things, right? To heal from that, to make sure that you don't that's not a new story, a new negative story. Like I was fired and I'm no good and nobody else will want me.
Right.
Or
Absolutely.
just whatever the story might be. We were just talking about stories, just to make sure you take that time to learn and go deep and understand how you can reframe that story if you need to.
Yes. Obviously, when significant events happen in our lives, we need time to process what happened.
Mhm.
So when I was initially laid off from my last corporate gig after nearly 20 years, and it literally came out of the blue, I did not know. I didn't know what hit me. And it took me a good couple of weeks to process what happened, to realize that I really am not the victim here, that this was a business decision. And I am still who I am. I still know what I know. I can still offer my gifts and talents. I just need to decide in what way I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe emotions need motion. And when we allow the time for them to process, I was able to let go of that victim mentality and think about it differently. And
Yeah.
it takes some time. And as long as you don't deny it, it will work. It will work through you as long as you allow it, right? Don't deny it and allow it to work through.
And go from victim to victor, right?
Exactly.
To own it and
Own it. Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, no blame anywhere.
Right.
So how do you figure out what you want?
Well, we talked about this early on. And I think a couple of the key elements to learning what you want. And at the end of the show, I want to share a power tip that will help with this. But we talked about values and vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe when we are centered and grounded on what we really value most, then we can create a vision for what we want next that is aligned with our values.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to explore all kinds of options. So, I take my clients through a series of activities that help them hone in on what it is about who they are and what it is about what they know how to do that they want to incorporate into this next chapter that they're creating for themselves.
That's great.
So those are the two initial pillars.
Okay. Let's go on to the last one that we were going to talk about, which is what's the process you can learn to get what you want? I love this one.
Okay, so the process
A
that
repeatable process, right?
it's a repeatable, absolutely. You get to put tools in your treasure chest that you can use for a lifetime when you learn what the kind of the steps on the roadmap. So probably the best way to share how I work with clients to figure out what they want is to share a story about one of them um, that taught her something very powerful. I'll call her Abby. She is a social worker. Had been in a social worker position for about 10 years, actually hands-on doing the social work with clients directly. And she came to me saying that she thought she needed to change her job, that she wasn't satisfied anymore. She wasn't feeling it anymore, and this desire to change her job was what compelled her to come to me. In the very beginning of the process, we do several self-assessments. And one of the things that came out for Abby from the first self-assessment was that it wasn't her career that was the biggest problem for her. The biggest roadblock for her was her relationship with herself, how she felt about who she is, what she offers, and what's important to her. So we worked on that first. And it's a customized process. It just depends on what each of my clients needs, right? And the self-assessments help us hone in on what do we need to work on first. Once she got a really clear picture of who she is and how she wanted to kind of step into that, show up in all areas of her life as Abby, things started to fall into place. And what she learned was she was a master teacher. And she loved to teach other people how to be a great social worker. So when she figured that out, she knew how to position herself. And she is now, I'm so happy to say, really successfully placed as a supervisor of social workers now and teaching them how to do what she knows how to do, right down to her bones.
Well, you have a great gift to be able to listen, right? Listen to the words. And hopefully you can see people too, because when they're telling a story, you can see the body language. If they're touching their neck, or if they're looking down, or if you can see it, right? And it's sometimes hard as a teacher, if you will, to wait for the student to realize it as well, right? Do you see that? Do you sometimes see it ahead of time, and you just have to ask questions?
Absolutely, it can't be forced, right? It's a process of self-discovery, and my role, my job, is to listen and guide, and to bring some questions and activities that allow her to explore what is really going on for her. And this process of self-discovery it's one of the things that lights me up when I have a client session and she says, you know what I got from that today? And I just got goosies just saying that. It's just it's so beautiful. And she did that on her own, right? I provided her some tools. And now that she has those tools, they're in her treasure chest now.
Yes. Hopefully she can share with other people, right? Because then the student becomes a teacher. And that's just such a great thing.
The next time something tips her over, she has those tools. She can say, you know what? Yeah, okay, I just got knocked down again, but my resilience is there, right? I have those tools in my treasure chest to dust off, and I'm not going to stay down as long. I'm going to bounce back. I know how.
Yep. We call that the bounce back ability, right?
Bounce back ability. I love that.
Yes. Okay, so you said that there was another tip you were going to give, or I'm your scribe. I'm ready to type anything that you would like for me to put down that will help people.
All right. This is a power tip. It's a 3-part power tip, and we're talking about how to get out of unstuck, right? How to get out of your rut with courage, confidence, and clarity. So this one tip will bring you all 3 of those if you really focus on it. So it's very simple. Take out a piece of paper, draw 2 lines down the middle. So you have 3 columns. On the top of the left column, the heading is all I know how to do.
Okay, maybe I'm just going to do it and then I'll just show it and people will have to watch the replay for it. Okay. All right. So I have my piece of paper here.
Okay. 2 lines, 3 columns.
2 lines, 3 columns. Okay.
And at the top of the left column, the heading is all I know how to do. And in this column, I want you just to think about literally all of the things you know how to do, the small things, the big things.
Mm-hmm.
Think about every job that you've ever had where you've learned something and you've applied it and you've taken it from one job to the next to the next. It's an exhaustive list. And many of my clients will open a spreadsheet and just
type
the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Because that's a great tool when you get to the second column. The middle column, the heading is all that I love to do. So this is going to be a much shorter list, and it's going to come from the left column. So take all the things that you know how to do, and what are the things you absolutely love to do? And make that list for yourself. On the third column, the heading is what I don't want to do anymore. And again, from that first left column, what are the things that you might be an expert in? You might have been doing for so long that you could teach it, but you don't want to do it anymore. And that's going to be the third column, the third list. When you have this in front of you and you play with this for a while,
Mm-hmm.
you get confident about knowing what you want. That middle column becomes a focus for us when we work together in designing what it is you want to do next. And how do you now create that? Now, every job has, when we're working for even when we're working for ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
every job has stuff we don't really want to do, but we have to do. But what we want to do is kind of limit that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So every job has a little bit of, stuff that has to get done. We want to make sure that there's enough stuff that we love to do, that gets us up every morning with great energy. It gives us confidence because we're in the zone, right? We're in our zone of genius. So that one exercise is one of the most eye-opening exercises that I go through with all of my clients.
Well, I think this is a really good exercise to be applicable for my solopreneurs when it's coming time to delegate and hire staff.
Yes.
Right? To get things out and get support from people. All I know how to do, all that I love to do, my zone of genius, right? That nobody else can do, absolutely. And what I don't want to do anymore. Those things, and then start writing job descriptions for that list, right?
Right. So that's when you start looking for things that allow you to do the stuff that's in that middle column.
Mm-hmm.
And you are, I think you're almost guaranteed, assuming the culture is right, and the other elements. And I have another very powerful spreadsheet that I share with my clients that help them to evaluate offers so they can negotiate them.
Mm-hmm.
So that comes at the tail end of the kind of the second half of the career transition roadmap program that I am offering right now. So that allows you now to start putting those pieces in place and evaluate one offer against another and say, okay, so which one scores? Which one has the high? I'm in my zone of genius score.
Mm-hmm. Super, super valuable. So we did have how to find you, Maria. So how are people working with you? Are they working with you one-on-one, or do you have group coaching, or it sounds like it's so specific? How are people working with you?
Yeah, so right now we are doing one-on-ones,
Mm-hmm.
and there is, Facebook group stuff that goes along with that as well. So there's an
Okay.
opportunity for community as
Okay.
well. But the work that I do with clients is so specific to what they need to work on, that it's a one-on-one program.
Okay. And let's see, can they find that on your website?
Yeah, and they can reach out to me in a variety of ways, as well as through my website. So,
Okay.
um,
And I think I put that, but I'll put it here again for you guys. Her website, share with a friend, watch this later, reach out to her, reach out to me if you want to get in touch with her. I can do an intro email as well and introduce you to her.
thank you.
And now you had said that you would like to offer something special to the guests or to the people that watch that. So what is that?
I'd love that. I'd love to do that. Thank you. So there are 3 things that a lot of my clients wrestle with at one point or another. We've talked about a couple of them here. One is confidence, and another is resilience.
Oh, two big words, two big, super important words, right?
Yep. And I've developed a free 30-minute video training on each of those things. And the third one is how to prepare for the unexpected.
Okay.
So those 3 30-minute.
How do you prepare for the unexpected? Okay, give us just a little, as we close, that one just hit me. I had an unexpected thing happen today, and I'm like, am I gonna cry? Am I gonna react? It's just information. What are you gonna do with this? So give us that real quick before we wrap the show.
Well, I think what you have to do is, so often it's like creating a contingency plan, right? So often we do that a lot with our financial life, right? We prepare for contingencies, right? But we don't think about doing that for major life events. So I'll give you one of the tips.
Yes.
Don't do it alone. What you have an opportunity to do is create a network of people who support you. I call this my personal board of directors. And that you think in advance about all of the things you might need help with. And you put that board of directors together.
Mm-hmm.
You let them know that they're on your board, make sure they're willing to be there, and that if this, or this happen, I'm going to reach out to you because I know I'm going to need the support. So that's part of preparing for the unexpected.
That's a great idea, right? To have those mentors or the go-to people that have your back and you have theirs. And this has been a running theme for a couple of years, right? For me, is to have that beautiful community that lifts you up and supports you, and they're there. They're there for you. They're sending meals. When I had COVID, my girlfriends were sending Uber Eats. And I'm like, but I actually have to get out of bed to go to the door. And they're like, well, I can't help you with that because I'm not coming to your house. Yeah. But right, to have those people, that community that steps up. But people, you have to ask for help. Asking for help doesn't mean you're weak.
No, it doesn't.
Asking for help means you're strong and smart, because you can't be the best at everything, but you surround yourself by a group of people that are awesome, that are going to build you up and that are going to lift you. And as we say, there's one hand up and there's one hand down, and wherever they go, you're going.
Lift as you climb.
Yeah. So have the community. If you're I'm such an advocate for women, right? In women community, there's women in sales groups. There's probably women in tech groups. There's Facebook communities. There's LinkedIn communities. There's female entrepreneurial communities. Find your tribe and build those relationships, because your 6th grade bestie might not be the best person to go to.
Well, and she might be the best for some things, but she may not be the best for everything. And very often we rely on our very best friend, and we go to them with everything, but it's a lot to ask,
right?
For her to to fulfill every need, and it's not fair. So, and you want to be, you want to tap into people's zones of genius,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who maybe you need someone to help you make decisions. So, how can you prepare that person to help you make a decision when you feel unable?
Yeah.
And what kind of decision might that be? So, those are the things that you get to think about as you develop that circle, that inner circle of trusted advisors and friends and family, whatever the mixture is, right?
Mm-hmm. All wise advice. Thank you so much for delivering that value. So we're going to wrap the show. Any last parting tips? Anything else that you want to share with everyone before we close the show for today?
You know, I think we actually landed on what is one of the most important things, and it's, you know, the time of the lone wolf is over, and we as women, as strong as we are, as brilliant as we are better when we are together,
Mm-hmm.
and when we try not when we do it, don't try to do it alone.
Yes, I love the saying that I think I posted on LinkedIn once, which is there's power in the pack, right?
Power in the pack, absolutely.
There's just
Yes.
more power to have those people surrounding you and building that foundation, so you don't have to go it alone.
Yeah.
All right, so stay on here while I wrap the show, and we'll talk offline. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, the Art of Inspired Selling is a long show format, so don't tap out. But the show is here. You can watch the replay. You can forward wind. You can rewind. Read the show notes. Reach out to us if you have any questions. If you have any topic that you think that we could discuss that will bring value to you, send me an email. Info@catherineevans.net. I'd be more than happy to feature a subject matter expert on anything that you need help with. So thank you so much, Maria, for coming on. We will see you guys. My guest for next week canceled, so I will see you guys in 2 weeks at the Art of Inspired Selling. I appreciate your time and have a great rest of the weekend.